Thank you, Greg. This is a historic day. We've got our pensioners here. We've got our active members. We've got the Bridges family. You know, I came into this union through an organizing drive. I was trying to be a longshoreman and couldn't achieve that. And through the International Organizing Department of the ILWU, I came in. And 1988, 5 years later, we got locked out, lost my jobs at gunpoint. And with the support of David Arian, I applied for a job at the ILWU International, and I ended up achieving that job. And it was to set up the international department and to work with the International Transport Workers Federation as a flag of convenience inspector. Sean Arian was an intern working for the International, and that's when I really found out about the value of the work of Harry Bridges. I've always admired history, and as I started getting into the international affairs of Harry Bridges and our great union, the ILWU, I found out that the ILWU is truly the beacon of hope because of Harry's vision, but it's created a union second to none throughout the world. To the Bridges family, thank you for sharing your father, your grandfather. My family knows as I've gotten involved in international affairs of the ILWU, I spent many days away from home, missing many family birthday parties, weddings, and all those things that families are truly about. So I know the sacrifice that you've made and the small sacrifice my family's made. You know, when I was in my mid-30s, I had an opportunity to attend a meeting over in Europe on behalf of the ILWU through the International Transport Workers Federation. And I met the president of the Indian Dock Workers Union. He was in his mid-70s at the time, and I was never so amazed to hear the words out of his mouth. He came up to me and he said, "Young man, you're from Harry Bridges Union." I said, "Yes, I am." And he said, "I remember being with Harry Bridges at the World Federation of Labor Conference in Moscow in 1950-something. And it never made me so proud just to hear the president of the Indian Dock Workers Union telling me about the first president, founder of the ILWU. And our union throughout the world is recognized as a force in labor rights. You know, Harry was challenged about his political party. There was all the court hearings. I can tell you that there's one thing that Harry Bridges was. He was a trade unionist. The fundamentals of Harry coming from Australia, I've had a chance to spend over 25 years with the Australian labor movement and the Maritime Union of Australia, and Harry truly learned the fundamentals of trade unionism from our brothers and sisters in Australia. He brought it to America, where he was the Australian American and proud. One of my other, defining moments was after Harry Bridges' death. I'm a young man. I'm working at the International with the International Affairs Department. Nikki Bridges came into the office one day, and we were sitting having coffee in the big boardroom at the ILW International office. And I said, "Nikki, what was some of the great moments in Harry Bridges' life?" She goes, "Well, I can tell you one. In 1971-72, I was, 13 years old. I walked the picket line with my father here on Terminal Island. Didn't know a lot about the 71-72 strike, only the things that my father told me and the other old-timers in the local, and then reading the history." She told me, "Ray, one of Harry's defining moments, as far as he was concerned, was during the 71-72 strike when Richard Nixon, the President of the United States, called him. And if I remember correctly, I believe there was a historic meeting that took place in Portland, Oregon. And Richard Nixon and Harry sat down, and the President of the United States, Richard Nixon, said to Harry, "You got to end this strike. It's crippling the country." And Harry believed his defining moment was as a working class man. Here he is, a man of modest means, standing up to the President of the United States and telling him, "I run a Democratic rank and file union, and the men will go back to work after they have a secret ballot vote and they make that decision, and it's not going to happen before that. And I thought about that throughout my career. You know, the ILWU is truly a vehicle. It gives workers a voice. Sometimes democracy can be challenging. Right now, Local 13 is experiencing some of that with this transition into automation. But I wouldn't have it any other way, nor would Harry. Democracy can mean 4 or 5 hour executive board meetings, long membership meetings, people challenging the chair. I've been in a top-down union, and I hated it. It was disgusting. And the rank and file democracy that Harry and others have created have allowed us to evolve. And it doesn't mean that we will not face our challenges as we're facing now, and we will find the solution. Our younger members are challenged, just like they were in the 1960s with M&M. They're looking at fewer work opportunities. Am I going to have a job for the future? I appreciate those electeds in the city of Los Angeles, like Joe and others, Anthony, that have stood up for us. You know, workers don't achieve anything unless their voice is heard, and the elected people within the city council of Los Angeles truly allowed that to happen, or otherwise this cry about automation, it's real. It's just not the ILWU. Right now, yes, we've achieved some great contracts, and thank you to the likes of Harry Bridges for collective bargaining rights and all those things that the ILWU stands for, health and safety. But there's a price that you pay when you're a democratic union like the ILWU. Sometimes those out in the public think it's okay for you to get knocked down a notch. I believe we've set the standard, and it's up to the future ILWU members to maintain that standard. The right to collective bargain, the right to health and safety. As we move forward, we will have to look to Harry from his fundamental values. You know, we're going to go into a 2022 contract, and those of you that were around, many of you retired now, remember 2002 when the Bush administration attacked us. There was a solicitor from the Department of Labor, Eugene Scalia. He has just been appointed the Secretary of Labor for the United States. He's going to have to go through his vetting, but once again, 2022 should be a major, major contract. The ILWU and its rank and file, we will rise to the occasion. Right now, we've got our challenges. As long as we don't drill holes in our own boat and we stay afloat, we will achieve the very fundamental goals that Harry believed. The right to collective bargain, the right to be safe on the job, and goddamn those robots that want to replace us. But the challenge for us is to transition into the new jobs. There won't be as many of them. There'll be technical jobs. There'll be much more skilled jobs of the future. That's where we're moving towards training. But I want to thank everyone here today, especially the retirees, the Bridges family, because without the Bridges family giving up their grandfather and father to all those long meetings that I'm sure Harry endured, and those of you who are retired know how many times you went through meetings in the 60s when Harry came down and spoke about the M&M and the frustrations and the challenges, just like we're going through the challenges now of trying to understand this transition into fully automated terminals and how ILWU members are going to have a place in the future and the right to have work opportunities. We will figure it out, and walking into this hall every day, as our rank and file brothers and sisters will, and see Harry, just like the 9 years I was international vice president, when we walked into the international building, all the officers have a habit of the statue there in the lobby of 1188 Franklin Street, of touching Harry's head and saying, "Thank you, Harry." And what that meant is, thank you for setting the table. Thank you for giving us the inspiration. And we too will fight to preserve everything that the ILWU stands for. Thank you very much.